Hi, I'm Todd Raffel. I'm here with Theresa Mazzaro. She is, well, first of all, she's a Air Force veteran, but then in the Air Force Reserves, which she recently retired from, and has been a nurse, still is a nurse by trade, nurse recruiter, talent acquisition leader. Now at Fairfax Radiology Centers, it's outside of the Washington, D.C. area, in Virginia, Northern Virginia. Uh, we're talking about what she's doing there, what she's done there, what she's accomplished there. So start with, tell us just anything you can, if I missed anything about kind of your background or Fairfax Radiology Centers, if there's anything more we should know about that.
Of course, absolutely. So Fairfax Radiology Centers is primarily 20 outpatient diagnostic and medical imaging centers throughout the Northern Virginia area. And we see thousands of patients a week. We have an amazing group of people that we work with. And I'm also now the immediate past president of the National Association of Healthcare Recruitment. And I've been an active part of that board for 12 years. So when I pivoted from being a bedside nurse and then working in sales as a nurse to recruitment, I just absolutely fell in love with what we do in the healthcare recruitment space, especially because I know everything we do touches a patient's life. So that's important to me.
Okay. You got there roughly a year ago,
About a year and a half ago,
year
yeah.
and a half ago, and you found what was going on.
I have the best boss in the world. She just said, I want you to take 90 days and I want you to assess the people, the processes, and everything that we're doing. So the very first thing I did was I actually applied for one of our own jobs. And I found there was lots of opportunity. And who doesn't see
Yeah.
opportunity there?
Yeah.
So we looked at all of the money that we were spending, very limited budget. We had probably about 62 openings at the time. And our budget, primarily 95% of our budget went to that large job board that's out there that
Okay.
you could get a search license for your resumes and then you post. And then as I like to say, you pray
Yeah.
and you pay, right? You post, you pray and you pay.
Yeah.
And we just weren't having the results. They weren't the right applicants. They weren't the right people. They weren't qualified. So immediately put the brakes on that. I said, I need to evaluate this. I need data. So, you always have to go fall back on data. Like, what's our conversion rate? Is the applicant tracking system an issue? Yeah, I think it is. So, looked at all of that. We whittled it down to basically just purchasing one resume search license from that company, which freed up so much money, which was amazing. So the very next thing I did was, well, are we sourcing? Are we actually using that resume search license? So let's get some training on that, make that happen. So we started setting up alerts for daily. Why should I go out there and seek when you can actually push it over to me? So that was done. Then we started looking at our processes. We had, and I'm a bit of a process geek, and we had moved a lot of our work everyday workflows outside of the applicant tracking system, which was ADP, which is great for payroll, but a challenging applicant tracking system. So I rewired all of our processes, but I knew in the back of my mind, eventually I'd want a new applicant tracking system, but
Uh-huh.
that wasn't to happen in that first 90 days, 6 months, even or more. Then I realized we had students coming through. So I just started asking questions. Oh, we've got students doing clinicals for ultrasound, for x-ray, and for MRI. And I'm like, okay, great. How are we engaging with the students? Right. And we weren't really doing anything consistent. So from a workforce planning perspective, are we going to the colleges? Are we having, how are we engaging with these students that come on site? How do we engage with the students that aren't here, but that don't even know about us?
Yeah.
So really started looking at it from that perspective, getting them when they're young in high school, when they're focusing on healthcare careers,
Yep.
and then going to the colleges in our immediate area that host these students and that we actually did clinicals with, to the point where I actually do, I think once a month, I go online on a Monday evening and I teach MRI students that go through the Tesla MRI program how to behave when they're clinicals, like how to shine bright, how to set yourself apart. And I'm not doing it to recruit all of them because they're all over the country, but it does put our name out there. And it also helps them with understanding how to be successful. And
Hmm.
then, of course, if they want to come work for us, I'm happy to talk to them
All the
about
better.
that.
Yeah.
We purchased a sourcing platform, right? So we took some, again, we're all pulling from this money that was already being spent on
Yeah.
one job board.
Yeah.
So we purchased a sourcing platform, and I use Seek Out as my sourcing platform. Started looking at how we could use that to entertain those really difficult to fill positions, because we sometimes have clinical roles or non-clinical roles that we need to engage with talent as well. Sometimes we'll have IT positions. We'll have, we hired a procurement manager last year. We hired a senior director of patient financial kind of, revenue kind of information. So sometimes you have to source for those applicants. The other thing that we did was we created a workflow process to better engage with our applicants, the people that actually made it through the application process. We would do a lot of phone calls, a lot of email exchanges. And I said, well, why don't we just get like one of those free links for our calendars? So we picked Calendly, easy enough to use. And it's just part of our process now. We either text or we email them a link to our calendar. Hey, let's chat. Because if you're an MRI tech, if you're an ultrasound tech, you're taking care of patients all day. You're not necessarily going to stop and read your emails, but you
Yeah.
might get that text that pops up. And oh, here's a calendar notice. Oh,
Yeah.
this is a job I just applied to. Let's talk. Doing things like that really have made such a difference. And the applicant and candidate engagement piece of it, I'm really big on using videos. So I have an asynchronous video platform that I use. I'm actually looking at another one now for employee testimonials called Vocal Video, but the one I use now is called VidHire. And it's just a way for me to communicate with people. If I'm talking to you, Todd, as an applicant, I might actually send you a video. Can't wait to talk today. Here's a link to my calendar. Now you've got a name with a face and it feels personal. When we're getting ready to make an offer, we routinely, 100% of the time, we send out the applicant, be it internal or external, a video telling them we're going to make an offer. Let's work on that comp. Here's the benefit information. Can't wait to talk with you. And people are just genuinely pleased to see that. It's so much better than just a random email or a phone call. Now they feel like they're personally engaged with you. And I think it represents our culture as well. So we've done all of these things.
Yeah.
And I'm literally right in the middle of right now implementing and building out a new applicant tracking system. We picked one that plugged into ADP because that's what we use for our HRIS system. And we're going with Jazz HR, which is going to make the application process so much better. No more logging in, no more passwords. I've got it down to 10 clicks per job, right? And it's mobile friendly. They could answer yes or no questions, upload their resume from wherever it is in the cloud, and off they go. So excited about this. That's going to be the next game changer.
Anything else that you,
what's that?
any other things you're going to do, add, change?
Oh, well, actually, we also partnered with a recruitment marketing firm in the last year. It started last August, actually, is when we went live. So NAS Recruitment Solutions have been a game changer for us. We've got a platform. They use this thing called an Activate platform. It's their sole proprietary platform, which helps engage with SEO. It gives us data analytics, so I could see the number of applicants that have dropped off. So I can look at, what's happening, what's not happening. We've built career pages out for our internal and external hires. We've just built a page this year for our physicians and provider group, which we partner with. So we're loading in videos there all the time.
Yeah.
That's why we want to get more employee testimonials, I think, but we're just having fun with it.
About CRM?
We're looking for a CRM.
Looking for
We've
CRM.
got one through NAS and it's nice. I'll give them the shout out for creating a CRM, but I really want one that's going to tie into Jazz HR. So once I'm done implementing that, I will look for a CRM that either can do a quick API integration or can get in there, but definitely looking for a CRM as the next step.
And you sort of touched on it. Anything else on results? Like you're spending the same amount, getting more, spending less, or
yeah,
number of applicants, number of hires, anything like that?
I've spent half the amount of money so far this year, and I don't really, most of it is an annual purchase. So I don't really, unless we do some specific retargeting campaigns, I will probably end up spending 80%. I don't want to tell anybody this because then they'll cut my budget, but I'll probably end up spending 80% of what my budget is.
Yep.
And 62 openings last year. We are down to 11 full-time openings.
Nice.
And 14 PRN positions, which is basically an as needed one day or a couple days whenever they can work. People are available to plug in the spots. and then I think one part-time position. So our results have been phenomenal.
Nice. The PRN you fill with like an agency, like a staffing? No.
No, no, we
Okay.
hire direct. Yeah, and that's that's something that I do admire this company for. We will not hire travelers.
Okay.
We don't hire staffing agencies because we don't want an MRI tech standing next to our MRI tech making more money that we're paying more money for because we're not inpatient, we're outpatient. We just would block the schedule. We don't get that patient seen, but we're working on that with staffing.
Got
And
it.
as a matter of fact, yesterday we had our one of our managers meetings, and or it was Wednesday, and the managers meeting, our COO said, look at all that ultrasound patients that have like we're up like 75% from where we were last year. And that's because of staffing. That's because of
Nice.
what we're doing. Yeah,
Nice. Theresa Mazzaro, impressive. I don't know where to begin, but you've listed so many things that you've mentioned here, working with students, sourcing, CRM, ATS, just really the video, your the class teaching, you're just diversifying basically your the way you spend money, thinking about it more wisely, looking for data that backs up how you're spending it, what you're getting out of it. So amazing. Theresa Mazzaro from Fairfax Radiology Centers, and my name's Todd Raffel. Thanks so much, Teresa, for joining.
absolutely my pleasure.